On July 1st, 2018, Clutch Sports, the management company of LeBron James, announced that he would sign with the Los Angeles Lakers, and on July 9th, the deal that sent the King to LA was complete. Thus, the Lakers entered the LeBron James era, and seeing how that played out, you got to ask, is the LeBron era a bust? Was the 2020 title worth it? The short answer is yes, but things aren't that simple. Let's start from the beginning. Hello guys, it's Bill. To answer the question if the LeBron era in LA is a bust, you got to look at how the team evolved over that period. Under Luke Walton, one of the worst coaches in the league, the 2018 Lakers finished with a record of 35 wins and 47 losses, good for 11th in the West. They were 23rd in offensive and 12th in defensive rating. They had a very promising young core consisting of Julius Randle, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, Josh Hart, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, and Alex Caruso. The future looked bright in LA, and with LeBron coming to the team, the sky was the limit. Except for LeBron, the Lakers added Rajon Rondo, JaVale McGee, Tyson Chandler, Lance Stevenson, and Michael Beasley. On the other hand, Julius Randle, Brook Lopez, and Isaiah Thomas left LA. Now with LeBron in their ranks and most of their young core intact, the Lakers finished with the same record, 37 and 45, and missed the playoffs for the 6th year in a row, a franchise record. They were 24th in offensive and 12th in defensive rating. It seems like LeBron didn't make them any better, but he only played in 55 games due to injury. Rajon Rondo, Lonzo Ball, and Brandon Ingram also dealt with injuries, and the Lakers fell below 500 by the All-Star break, despite starting the season 20 and 14. The first year of LeBron in LA was underwhelming, but that was not his fault. It was the last season that the Lakers had that young core because in the summer of 2019, one of the biggest trades in NBA history took place. On June 15, 2019, Anthony Davis was traded to the Lakers for Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, and Josh Hart, 3 first-round picks, including their number 4 overall selection in 2019, which became DeAndre Hunter, and a first-round pick swap in 2023. LeBron James was 35 at the time and the Lakers needed a win-now move. Rob Pelinka did exactly that, and the duo of Anthony Davis and LeBron James was about to take the league by storm. Luke Walton was replaced by Frank Vogel, and with a generational talent on the team and very good pieces around him, the Lakers were a beauty to watch on defense. They had the 3rd best defense in the league with a defensive rating of 106.3 and the 11th best offense with an offensive rating of 112. They finished with a record of 52 and 19 in a shortened season due to COVID, and they stormed through the competition in the bubble. They beat the Blazers, Rockets, and Nuggets in 5 games before winning the title against the surprise of the 2020 season, the Miami Heat, in 6 games. It was the 4th title and Finals MVP of LeBron's career, and the Lakers seemed destined for more title runs, with AD and the King leading the way. Before we continue, we need to point out how good were the 2020 Lakers, and especially on defense. KCP, Alex Caruso, Kuzma, and Danny Green were dogs on the perimeter, and protecting the paint they had AD, who was the anchor, and his backups Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee. Add to that LeBron's insane IQ, his strength, size, and Vogel's coaching, and you have a recipe for success on defense. On offense, the pair of LeBron James, one of the best passers and drivers, and AD, one of the best lob threats, was enough to put the Lakers a step ahead of the competition. Green, Caruso, and KCP provided valuable spacing, and Rondo the playmaking and leadership off of the bench. This team fit well together. They suffocated teams on defense, and they finished the job with a well-rounded offense. And with a triumph in the bubble, LeBron's lackluster first year in LA was quickly forgotten, and rightfully so. They were looking to improve as champions in the fall of 2020, but unfortunately, it was the start of their downfall. The Lakers traded Danny Green and the number 28 pick to OKC for Dennis Schroeder, JaVale McGee and the 2026 second-round pick for Alfonso McKinney and Jordan Bell, and they let go of Dwight Howard, Rajon Rondo, and Avery Bradley. They signed Montrezl Harrell, Wesley Matthews, Marc Gasol, Andre Drummond, and Ben McLemore. These moves looked solid back then, and everybody had the Lakers as the favorites to go back-to-back, and by February of 2021, the Lakers were confirming all the hype. The Lakers had the second best record in the West behind the Utah Jazz after defeating the Minnesota Timberwolves on February 16th, but it was during that game that AD, who signed a $190 million contract in December, was injured and missed 30 games. To make matters worse for the Lakers, Dennis Schroeder was injured just one game after, and LeBron missed 26 of the team's final 30 games with a sprained ankle. All of that contributed to the Lakers falling from the number 1 seed the year before to the 7th due to tiebreakers with the Blazers and Mavericks. No need to worry though, despite playing in the play-in tournament, the Lakers had the talent to go all the way, but unfortunately they didn't have the luck to go all the way. They faced the Golden State Warriors of the scorching hot Steph Curry, and it was a very close game, but in the end the King hit this shot and the Lakers secured the 7th seed. As the 7th seed, they were matched against the 2nd seed Phoenix Suns. With CP3 and Booker leading the way, the Suns looked like the real deal, but the Lakers found themselves leading the series 2-1. Then AD got injured again and LeBron with the rest of the guys couldn't hold Phoenix's push. They lost in 6 games and they were the first champions since the 2015 Spurs that were eliminated in the first round. The third year of LeBron in LA was a disappointment. You can blame injuries for that, and I partially agree, but the Lakers didn't do themselves any favors with the moves they made in the offseason. They replaced JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard, 2 excellent pick-and-roll and defensive backup big men, with Andre Drummond, the king of empty stats and subpar defense, Montrezl Harrell, who was unplayable in the playoffs, and Marc Gasol, who was a shell of his former self. Ben McLemore and Wes Matthews didn't find their step in the team, and Dennis Schroeder, despite posing as a younger Rajon Rondo type of guy, didn't perform accordingly. They messed up the chemistry around their big duo, and they paid for it. That really showed on offense, where they finished 24th in offensive rating. On defense, they were elite, number 1 in defensive rating, but after a disappointing first round exit, drastic moves needed to be made, and they were made, but they were bad. In the summer of 2021, the Lakers decided to take a huge risk and they traded for Russell Westbrook. In came Russ and Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and the number 22 overall pick in the 2021 NBA draft headed to the Wizards. And by letting Caruso go, all the role players that made them so good in 2020 were gone. Instead, the Lakers chose to bring in vets like Melo, Trevor Ariza, DeAndre Jordan and Wayne Ellington. Avery Bradley and Dwight, who were there in 2020, were not the same. Kendrick Nunn, another addition of the 2021 offseason, hasn't still played, and Talen Horton-Tucker just doesn't fit with this team. And that's the problem. Throughout 2 seasons, the Lakers went from a team that fit very well together to a mess. Russ can't work around his obvious weaknesses and we still haven't been shown his strengths yet. Melo, despite being a good scorer, is a ball stopper. DeAndre Jordan is unplayable in today's game. AD is constantly injured, and so on and so on. The Lakers have more problems than they can afford and solve honestly. The only bright spots have been Malik Monk and Austin Reeves, who have been excellent, and LeBron, who continues to defy Father Time. But those bright spots are not enough. The Lakers are 8 games away from 500 with a disappointing 27-35 record, and they look like a first round exit, maybe even a play-in exit. It was less than 2 years ago when the Lakers were champions. Crazy how they fell off a cliff like that. The question that we tried to answer was the following: is the LeBron James era in LA a fiasco? Was one title worth all of that? As I said in the beginning of the video, the 2020 title was worth it, and you can't clearly say that the LeBron era is a bust. He brought LA a title at the end of the day, but the way LeBron and the Lakers managed that title was tragic. I get the AD trade, they were in a win now mode and it paid off, but they were so eager for a back-to-back that they messed that team up. And the Westbrook trade put the final nail in the coffin. They went from a well-rounded team that was giving nightmares to opponents on defense to the oldest team in the NBA with the worst spacing and subpar offense and defense. They knew that Westbrook was a huge risk, but unfortunately he didn't pay off. And you can't even blame Russ at this point. The Lakers are a problematic team from top to bottom, and I don't think that the King went to LA to win just one title. So I think calling his run a bust so far has validity. More and more questions arise with each day passing for the Lakers. Russell Westbrook agreed with the team to be traded this summer, but LeBron will most likely be their priority. Has the time of LBJ to LA reached to an end? Will the Lakers trade him? James has a year left on his contract and spent All-Star weekend openly flirting with a Cleveland return. If James doesn't sign a contract extension this summer, LA may not have a choice. Any team that will want to trade for Westbrook will want to offload bad contracts onto the Lakers' books. LA can't afford to offer future picks to sweeten a potential deal. Frank Vogel, even though he doesn't deserve this, will most likely be fired. Including Westbrook, the Lakers have 5 players under contract for the next season, 7 if you include Kendrick Nunn and Stanley Johnson. They need to fill half of the roster and they don't seem to have the assets to do so the right way. What they do have is their brand name. They are the Los Angeles Lakers. Let's see if this will be enough. There is no quick fix. They need Davis to be the player he was in 2020. They need to make a good trade, including Westbrook, if they want LeBron to stay. They should learn from their mistakes. They should have gone after DeRozan and Lowry this past summer. Let's see if they make the right moves this offseason. They won't have a long playoff run unless something crazy happens, so they'll have plenty of time to regroup. For now, the team is sinking and the future looks grim, but we should not count out the Lakers. But what do you guys think about LeBron's run so far in LA? Has it been a bust? If so, what's next for the Lakers? Let's chat about it in the comments below, and make sure to chase down below that subscribe button for more NBA content. I was Bill, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.